All right, great stuff. Now I want to welcome somebody else onto the program that you introduced me to, and this comes back to the head injuries and, of course, parents who have kids who are playing football and other high-impact sports. This is something that really intrigues me. It also plays off of the NFL and the book, The League of Denial, and the fact that football does cause brain damage, brain injury. So my question has always been, we know that you have to take care of the players, at least I believe you do, when they retire, but what can guys or athletes do to protect themselves while they're playing before the event? I want to welcome in Sean Torbati, who is the CEO of High Performance Nutrition, and let's see if we can get him on here. Sean, good afternoon. Thanks for coming on the show, my friend.
Hey, Chad. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's great stuff. Now, there's been so much discussion over the head injuries in football, and especially with the NFL. Now, we know that these injuries do happen, but what can athletes do to prevent these beforehand?
Well, thus far, Chad, it's been an approach of managing the concussions or head trauma after the fact. It's like, okay, someone has a concussion, so the focus and emphasis has been, how do we diagnose and confirm that there has been a concussion or a traumatic event? And then what does the player need to do in order to illustrate that they're ready to play again? Now, that is, not going to prevent or reduce any of the injury. Actually, it's just a way of managing it and, preventing it from becoming worse. But what we have is the first supplemental means of providing Neuro-Protection, which is to protect the brain cells or neurons prior to the damage occurring.
That's great stuff, and that comes down to something you have called NR. But what are NAD levels? I've heard you talk about this. What are NAD levels, and why is it important to increase those in our body? Right.
So NR only has one ingredient in it. It's called Niagen, and it's an ingredient that's been extensively studied and researched at the clinical and university level, and more research is going on now. And it comes down to the fact that it increases this coenzyme in every cell called NAD+. And we have a little bit of it, but not very much, as it turns out. Now, when head trauma occurs, if you have a great pool of this NAD+, you can upregulate some enzymes that allow the brain cells to protect themselves so that the damage that occurs post-trauma, the degeneration that naturally happens. So it's not like people think where you take a hit and it's all wiped out. It's actually a degenerative process that sets in after trauma. So there's research out of Washington University where they've demonstrated that if the cells are treated with NR prior to the injury, the 72 hours thereafter, less damage occurs, whereas in the control group, the neurons nearly decay to being non-existent. So it provides protection in that window afterwards and prevents further breakdown of brain cells.
Great stuff. And so this would be good for, teenagers, younger adults who are participating in the higher impact sports, but also not only that, but the NAD levels for maybe parents or grandparents as we continue to age.
Well, yeah, it's actually amazing. We could talk about the different areas of what this does all day, but to focus on the contact sports, it's not just football; it's also hockey. The players have banded together and initiated a class action lawsuit in hockey as well. Soccer, it's actually, there's studies showing that heading a soccer ball is every bit as traumatic as taking a helmet-to-helmet hit. You have a high-speed, fast-moving, firm object, and you're using your head as a projectile against it. What do we think is going to happen? So kids are now being encouraged to not use their head, and that's not going to happen at the higher levels of play. So, it's just as big of a problem there. And then you have your extreme sports. It's an endless scope of athletes who could benefit from this supplement. And then the biggest thing that we do on our end is we do testing that other companies do not, in terms of having independent organizations that are credible test our supplements after they are produced to ensure that they meet their label claims and that they don't have any banned substances or things that are not okay for athletes to take in them.
Great stuff. We're talking with Sean Torbati, the CEO of High Performance Nutrition, and Jimmy Lam of Max Muscle out there in the Promenade in Clackamas. Now, Jimmy, you've got the HPN products in your location, correct?
That is correct. Not only do we have NR, but we have the full line of HPN products. So, if you have time, come down and we'll educate you a bit more on those products, and they're just amazing. So definitely.
Awesome. Jimmy Lam and Sean Torbati. Sean, I really appreciate you taking time to come on real quick and share something that I think is important for especially the parents who have kids who are participating in the sports. But I appreciate you taking time, my friend.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to coming there next month and having Jimmy show me around the Portland area. Very much looking forward to it.
All right, great stuff. I appreciate it, gentlemen. We got Sean Torbati and Jimmy Lam.